Welcome back to 31 Days of Q&A. For today's question, Day 27. What's something you wish you knew back then that you know now? There's going to be a lot of very small things that I'm sure I could think of if I sat down and really thought through every process and every conversation and every meeting I've had with everyone I've ever known in the art industry. But I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is that you don't need art school to be a successful artist. Now, when I was in high school, one thing that I heard from every adult, from every teacher, from every mentor, just like everybody, that I had to go to college if I wanted to be successful. You have to get a degree, and I felt very pressured into having to get a degree in something, and I wanted to do art. So, for me, it made sense to pursue an art degree. Now, I knew very little about art schools. I knew nobody who knew very much about art schools. And so I was pretty much in the dark back then, the complete dark. So much so that I was approached by somebody who was representing the school that I ended up going to. And I fell for a lot of tricks that they played. They were not very honest about the way they represented the school, the things they told me about the school, about job placement, about like previous successes of other students, and so on and so forth. And I fell for it, and I believed that, well, obviously, if I'm going to be a successful artist, then I must go to this school because they tell me. What I didn't know was that wasn't the only path. I didn't have to go to school for game art and design. Originally, I wanted to be an animator. I was told that it was something that they weren't hiring for, an industry that was dying, basically. And that game art, video games were a growing industry. Therefore, I would have better success if I joined that industry. And as a high schooler, working on video games sounded pretty darn cool. But the problem is I didn't really get a chance to explore enough art to find out what I really wanted to do. So I signed up for a school, an expensive school that I'm unfortunately still paying loans on over 10 years later. And I went to that school, and I came out of that school, and I did not get a job placement as they had promised. I didn't really, looking back, I wasn't really given the tools needed to get a job in the industry, I think. And if I was going to do it over, I would have, first of all, waited a year before going into college. Because when you go to a college that's like $70,000 for the education, a $2,000 scholarship is not worth being forced into a college that, I mean, if there were better options, I don't know. It was a very bad trade-off. Like, oh no, I better use this $2,000 scholarship like right away or else, I won't have it. But choosing the wrong school was a much worse decision than just losing out on a small scholarship. And if I could do it again, I would have allowed myself time to explore more art and explore more paths and find out that game art wasn't the only path I could have taken. I know now that in what I want to do, ultimately, I should have taken a degree in business, and that would have helped me out a lot more. Just a general, or go to college for just a general degree of anything. But I would have been able to take art through a very art-specific school, something like an atelier, or online art classes, or just smaller, shorter schools focused on art. schoolism or smart school, or there's a lot of them out there now, and I had so many options that I didn't know existed. So that would be my big something that I know now that I wish I knew back then. And when I get questions from younger artists, especially those in high school looking to go to school, I tell them, be very careful and don't believe that you have to go. And if anything, going might be the wrong move, because there's nothing harder than trying to make it as an artist while you're paying large student loans at the same time. And most of what I know now, I learned after college anyways. And if you're dedicated and you're willing to push yourself and sit down and learn and focus hard, you don't need the school to be a successful artist. Going to wrap that up. I feel like that was kind of a long one. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I'm very passionate about that subject, so I could go on for much longer, but I'm going to try to keep it wrapped up right there. So thank you so much for watching and or listening, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.